I am gonna commit it to just your face. I want
Okay.
you to be the focus of this.
Okay. Oh
So
man. All right. And you've vetted all these. That they're all above board and nothing like. I mean, all right.
so
Family friendly. That's my
I
only filter.
I have to admit one thing. I have not read a word. I was saving it for you. I had to organize, as in Kindle could not get off work until today.
Did you send me those yet?
So you have no
Um,
idea what I'm reading or if this is like even censored or anything.
nope.
Nope.
Self-censorship. Here we go.
Oh
Welcome
god.
to the internet.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna stop if if something terrible happens though.
All right. To be fair, if something terrible happens, here's what you have to do:
All right.
make it about hugs and cuddles.
All right.
Self-censorship. You can do it. I believe in you.
Okay.
Heart of the cards.
So, which one are you gonna do first? Each one of them has their title and their author.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and do the BattleCON Batman one?
Let's do Terminator 2.
All right, that was the
Belmont's
first
Day.
one.
All right.
That
So
was actually the first one we got.
okay. Whew. So this is a Clive X Terminator fanfic. Wow. Am I really doing this? Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Clive Melmont, everyone's favorite robot boy, was skipping rocks by a quiet pond, contemplating whether or not he's ever dreamed about electric sheep, when a thunderous thunderclap thundered behind him, thunderously. I added that last one. He turned to see his mentor, Luke Von Gott, appear out of nowhere, riding in a strange vehicle with the word DeLorean written on it. Clive watched as a frantic Luke hurriedly rushed out of the vehicle and ran towards him. Clive, Clive, you've got to go back! Luke maniacally shouted like a maniac. Back? Back where? Clive inquired in an inquisitive sort of way. To the future! I mean, to the past! Luke quickly corrected himself. You've got to go back and save John Connor. He's the only hope for the future. Here, use my time machine, he said, throwing a set of keys at his robot apprentice. But bring it back with a full tank, he added, laughing hysterically while slapping his own knee over and over and over. When he finally caught his breath from laughing, he cleared his throat, placed a hand on Clive's shoulder, and said, but seriously, full tank and not a scratch. Clive, while still very confused about what was happening, sat down in the driver's seat. How does this thing work? He asked his bewildering mentor. Oh, it works great, Luke bellowed. Just had her in the quantum mechanic for a tune-up. She purrs like a kitten now. That's not exactly what I was asking, Clive mumbled. Anyways, just push this button here and then pull that lever and make sure, whatever you do, you never press that button over there, he explained without using any hand gestures or pointing to anything.
Okay, I'm spotting.
I leave this in your capable mechanical hands. I must be off. I'm late for a tea party. He smiled for a moment, showing every tooth in his mouth, then ran zigzaggedly away into the distance. This must be the intro to 7-Card Slugfest. Like, this is preview montage.
I guess.
Okay, all right. Clive stared at the bells, whistles, buttons, and levers inside his machine. Well, he said with that crooked smile he sometimes practiced in front of the mirror, here goes nothing.
Hold on. I think it looks something like this.
Okay, so section break. All right. Everything had happened so fast after pushing that first button that Clive had no idea whether it had worked or not. He stepped out of the DeLorean and took a look around at his surroundings around him. It appeared he was now standing outside of a biker bar in the middle of a low-income urban slum. He also noticed that he was no longer wearing any clothes. What the? How did that happen? His mentor had mentioned nothing about the clothing not traveling back in time with him. But then again, he also never mentioned a lot of important details. All Clive knew was that he had to save someone named John Connor. Better start asking around. As Clive entered the bar, all the patrons stopped what they were doing and stared at him. The sight of a naked person was not all that shocking. There were a lot of bad drugs in the area, and people tend to do a lot of dumb things. It was the fact that Clive, while mostly anatomical or correct, was missing certain parts a normal naked male individual normally has when he is entering a bar naked.
Oh, freckles.
Excuse me, Clive said, in a baffling attempt to get the attention of the people who were already giving him their full attention. I'm looking for someone named John Connor. Wasn't he the father on Roseanne? Someone shouted from the back. No, that was Dan Connor playing by John Goodman, you idiot, another man retorted. Isn't he dead now? Asked a woman who was missing a few fingers on both of her hands. No, you're thinking of John Candy. Common mistake, said the man in a wheelchair getting a back dance. Clyde stared silently. He did not understand a single reference that these people were making. He was considering slinking back outside like a slinky in the night when someone spoke up from a darkened corner of the bar. Hey, the stranger said. I'm John Connor. Who wants to know? The stranger leaned out of the shadows, and Clive could see that the voice belonged to a 10-year-old boy.
I do want to point out there was a word that was skipped, and it was teddy bear.
Yes. So you're reading along at home. For those of you reading along at home, my name is Clive Melmont. I'm a robot from the future, or maybe a parallel universe in the future. It's hard to explain. There are werewolves and robots and dragons where I come from. Just accept it, move on, and get into my DeLorean. I'm going to save you, Clive explained in a rather startling and unsettled manner. You show up here naked and you want me, a 10-year-old boy, to get into your pitmobile so you can save me? John asked, pointing out every unsettling aspect of the scenario. And what exactly are you supposed to be saving me from? A lifetime without repressed memories? Clive thought for a moment how to answer this question, since he himself did not know what he was supposed to save this young man from. While pondering this and carefully deciding how he should word his next few sentences, one of the walls of the bar exploded in a fiery explosion of fire and bricks, and people who were sitting at tables next to that wall. When the smoke cleared, there was a man wearing a police uniform standing there. I'm looking for John Connor, said the cop in a very creepy, emotionless tone. Wasn't he the father in Roseanne? Someone shouted from the back of the bar, and everyone laughed, even the cop who really shouldn't have gotten the joke because he wasn't there either. Let me guess, said John, slipping on what appeared to be a double rum and coke, despite being a 10-year-old. You're here to save me too? No, said the cop. I'm here to kill you. Suddenly his hands turned into giant metal blades as if he were some kind of malleable liquid metal that was 1,000 times cooler than regular metal. He started running straight at the boy at an incredible speed, using the perfect running form. He was so aerodynamic that it was insane. This is it, Clive thought. This is what I'm supposed to save John Connor from. Using his rocket boots, Clive launched forward, placing himself directly between the liquid metal cop and the young boy he was sent back to protect. It occurred to Clive while he stood there, bravely defiant, acting as a hero in his most heroic moment, that he was still naked. That one shameful instance where he took his mind off his opponent to consider his exposed body provided the metal cop with the opening he needed. He slashed and pierced, swiped and stabbed, cut and pasted, and stunned the unprepared robot boy. Clive lay on his back, blinking as if he had dust in both eyes. He was no match for the super metal robot cop, who also appeared to be from the future. He knew that in his current condition he could never hope to beat this guy. He held his hands up, making a T symbol with his hands, the universal signal for timeout. He got to his feet and started walking outside the bar. The cop, very confused over whether a timeout could be called, yelled after him. Wait, what are you doing? Clive looked back over his shoulder, smiling that crooked smile, and said, I'll be back. All the patrons at the bar started hooting and hollering as if something really amazing had just been said. A few moments after Clive left, the sounds of drilling and whirring, hammers banging, and ratchet clicking could be heard echoing from the outside. The noises of tools were then replaced by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching the bar. When Clive re-entered, he was now fully upgraded. He had extendable arms, core shielding, even an upgraded barrier chip. He aimed every weapon he had available at the liquid cop's head and shouted, Hasta la vista, baby, as he blew that guy to Kingdom Come. Whew, okay, section break. Wow.
So while you're taking the section break, in the comments of our chat, I posted a public link for all the fanfics. There's some weird Google Plus stuff going on that's not letting me post it as a comment on YouTube. Could you post it as a comment on YouTube?
If you've shared it publicly, it's on your drive, so I don't think I can.
It is shared publicly. I put the public link in our little group chat. If you go there, you'll see it.
Okay. Well, I'll do it at the end of.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because why let them read ahead, right? That would be cheating.
True.
Okay. Last section of this one. All right. When the dust settled and the patrons were all rushed to the hospital, John Connor sat down on the curb next to Clive. I just wanted to say thank you, for saving my life. It's all right, said Clive. It's what I was sent back to do, so I guess the mission accomplished. I suppose you'd be going back now, eh? John said with a sad sort of tone, as if he was almost as if he was sad. Nope, said Clive out of the corner of his mouth. I dismantled the DeLorean to make all those upgrades. Looks like I'm stuck here in your world. Ah, well, it's not such a bad place. I suppose things could be worse. Suddenly, wave after wave of evil robots built on the termination of the human race marched into the street carrying John Goodman's head on a pike. No one can stop us, one of the machines yelled. Far, far away, in a parallel universe in the future, Luke Von Gott sips his tea with a hare and a mouse. He looks up at the sky thoughtfully and says, I did say Dan Connor, didn't I?
What?
Wow.
That
A literal F. Like that was.
was beautiful.
This is pretty outlandish. That was surprisingly well written, though. Whew.
Oh.
I shouldn't say that. People are going to wonder how the visual novel game is going to be if I consider these to be good writing.
Well, obviously that is an excellent fanfic that deserves to be on fanfiction.net.
Yes,
Hey,
the grammar, punctuation, spelling, is all excellent. Great fanfic.
I hate to say it, I think you should make a special edition of the visual novel that has that as just like a chapter in it.
We'll have to have some outtakes for sure.
Like,
for sure.
yeah.
I would like to emphasize, everyone who entered, please put this fanfiction on fanfiction.net. There is currently no BattleCon fanfiction on there at all, which, that's a shame. That was perfect. It should be on there.
I'll leave that to the authors to decide. But
Yes.
but yeah, it's
Beautiful.
all right. Any comments that we want to take before we go to the next one?
Just the one
really
from
like...
Eric Cooper Flowers that says this is going to be glorious.
Yes.
Fabio says, I need to work on my Arnold impression.
Yeah.
Well, Fabio, I was talking to the T-1000, and then I only realized halfway through that wasn't Arnold.
Yes.
Someone wants to know if there's any chance of a Pixel Tactics video game. Pixel Tactics.
Yes, we're still planning on Super Pixel Tactics. That is something that we've got the specs for planned out, but we're still working on BattleCon Online. So once BattleCon Online's finished up, that'll probably be our next big project.
All right. Well, that answers that.
I would like to point out that you can get a box set of both Spell Swords and Pixel Tactics from the Level 99 store on pre-order right now.
That's a low blow, man.
I'm gonna punch you through the internet like right now, like just.
Ow!
There it is.
So Ninja Spider-Man meets Jet Aria by.
I had to provide
I'm
my
really-
own title. There was no title provided for that one.
Okay, so you titled this one.
I had to title that one.
I will admit, I read through this one just a little bit. I only read like the first paragraph, and I kind of agree with Eric Cooper Flowers right now. I think this is gonna be glorious.
Okay. All right. So the author begins, and actually this author is one of the guys that's made a lot of comments on the site. So if you want to join in and leave your take with us.
Yeah, I did invite him.
Okay, so he's got an invitation in his email. So if you wanted to join us and chat, or if you want to remain anonymous, that's cool too. But all right, let's do this. Let me tell you a tale, dear viewers, and I know you're not viewers, says the writer. A tale of woe, loss, love, and shadow. A potent combination, whether shaken or stirred. My drink was neither as I surveyed the seedy bar. Nothing was as it seemed in these parts. Sure, some lowlifes like the spoony bards were to be expected in a dive like this. At least the mama's boy plucking the harp was quiet. His what could only be described as a tonal violation of what I am sure was perfectly undeserving catgut was almost completely drowned out by the shrilling death throes of his partner on the recorder. At
Like
least we
that's
hoped
lovely.
At least we hoped he was dying based on dissonant trills proceeding from his tool. Thrust on school children worlds over is a cruel joke. The recorder is the only instrument in the history of creation meant to sound terrible enough to destroy their self-esteem, enough to make them quit music forever. Tragically, our bard was ever undaunted in the face of the misery of all of our faces. Truly, dear viewers, and I know you're not viewers, the cackle of demons feasting on my very soul while scratching a chalkboard would have been blissful relief. So much for the entertainment.
Pause really quick. Pause, because I have to admit, this bard, this plucky bard here, he's a badass apparently.
This is definitely Trias and Dravel, I feel.
This mama's boy is also simultaneously a badass. Like, this guy's awesome.
Okay.
I want to build him in Pathfinder and then play him.
Aside from a grammatical error and some weird repeating, that's a beautiful first paragraph.
I think that's the point. Anyway, let's carry on.
Yeah.
Imagine my utter dismay as I turned back to the barkeep to see Goober McBowtie staring back at me. With hair about as greasy as he wanted to look classy, his cracked knuckles and the wanderlust in his eye told me that his refinement went about as deep as his tan. Someone not worth the trouble, looking to be trifled with. The lady tells me there may be a problem here, he said, trying, I'm sure, to sound intimidating but subtle. I bet he thought the music was subtle as well. Ah, is this what happened to my beautiful bonsai? Fair enough. My leafy courtesan had been coy at first, letting me think I was taking the lead as she reeled me in. But it takes a bit more than some flirtatious foliage to get me to drop my guard. Nice dryads and seedy bars are generally not so nice in the end. She must have thought me a sap, thinking she could have me pine after her. But things turned a bit wooden when she noticed me plucking a red rose from her buxom bounty while she spiked my drink with some green nectar, the same drink I was still nursing now. Oh well, I wasn't here to make friends anyway.
The puns! The puns!
So we got Aberrane now. Okay, so these are all the votable characters I think are going to appear before this is over. Hey pal, we got a problem, or you want something else? My most petulant publican prodded. No problems, my good barkeep. In fact, I'll take a bottle of your strongest stuff. Make it a real knockout. Glad at the opportunity to peddle his swill, and glibly grumbling about me not finishing my first drink, he descended into the cellar. I had half a mind to lock the door behind him, but now is not the time for making scenes. Surveying the pub once more, I noticed the beggar girl, to whom I had tossed a few coins when I first entered, now warming herself by the fire. Perhaps she was smarter than I gave her credit for. Not only was the fireplace the furthest from the bards, but maybe she hoped the crackling wood would drown out the mellifluous tones of our euphonic entertainers. Mellifluous and euphonic being in quotes. All right. There's 2 pages left of this one. Let's see. Continuing my survey, I spotted my bonsai plying her trade on a new victim. A veritable beast of a man, he seemed very amused with the dryad's devices as he blew smoke rings to her feigned delight. I wondered if anyone else noticed that his cigar wasn't lit. Catching my gaze, he nodded confidently, challengingly. I blew a smoke ring of my own from my pipe and bowed my head to acknowledge his mastery of the skill. No need for disrespect. One should never unnecessarily perturb a sleeping dragon after all. He seemed satisfied, and his attention reverted to the live lady before him. Well, don't you have a way with people, said a woman sitting in the shadows at the end of the bar. Obscured by the darkness, all I could see was the glowing tip of her cigarette at the end of a long filter. She made her way toward me. Her steps were smooth but sure, her eyes seductive but steely, fearless but feminine. She was as formidable as she was fair. Taking a seat next to me, her raspy voice still echoed in my head. As the cigarette and pipe smoke lazily floated about our heads, it felt as if the rest of the world just faded away. The music gave way to just silence, her voice and giggles. Time stood, flew, still or flew, who could tell? My heart was no longer in mine. I nearly lost myself that night. Leave it to the translucent tapster to ruin everything and save me. Hiding a maniacal menace about as well as bikini hides a plump girl's hiding a maniacal menace about as well as a bikini hides a plump girl's figure. He slammed a large bottle of his best stuff, a homebrew recipe on the bar, drawing me back to reality. One swig of this, he grandiosely proclaimed, and you won't know what hit you until morning. Maybe not even then. If only he could have appreciated the irony then. I guess it's time then, I said, staring one last time into those seemingly bottomless eyes of my new companion, pocketing my pipe, perhaps in another reality. With that, I conjured up a large force field and launched out our musically disinclined minstrels, slamming them into the wall behind them. Finally, some relief, I said, looking at what I thought would be the approving crowd. Guess not. All right, buddy, that's it, I heard shouted from what I presumed to be the irate barkeeper, who I imagined had taken the time to roll up his sleeves to fight me. Sadly, he never got the chance, for as he grabbed my collar to turn me around, I grasped the bottle he had recently produced for me and smashed it across the side of his head. He was right, though. He never knew what hit him. Recognizing what a full-on slugfest was about to break out, I had to move quickly. Taking a healthy drop from my original beverage, I locked lips with my new femme fatale friend, spewing the tainted tonic down her throat. She was in my arms, but was still breathing as she reverted to her true form. And just in time, as I had ducked to dodge a blast of flame, seems my sweet bonsai had enticed our dragon friend to take me out. I was a little insulted since he did not even bother to stand, but I appreciated the underestimation. He launched another salvo, but being better prepared this time, I used my force field to deflect it back at my little I guess bonfire might be more appropriate now. Truly enraged now, the monster of man rose, smoke and anger seething from him. Quickly, I cast a force field around his head. The smoke and billowing flames only served to limit his sight and oxygen further. But dragons are not so easily snitted. He came crashing right at me. To call him a bull in a china shop would be insulting to him and far too ameliorative to the bar. He was more like a rampaging dragon in a piece of crap bar. However, he fell. That just left me and the beggar girl. Please don't, I said, pleading with my eyes. Her eyes, however, were aflame as the ash from the fireplace, and now a burning bar began to swirl around her. You're a bad person. Bad people just destroy things. I'm sure she tried to finish that sentence, but the reality is she did nothing. With a large flash of light and a powerful burst, the coins I previously had given her burst in her pockets. Not true bombs, nor were they fatal, but they were more than enough to keep even a phoenix down. Taking out my pipe, I lit it with some burning rubble. I'm a bad person, right. Just found a dryad, rasp, and dragon, and endured the moans of those alleged musicians to save the world from terribly destructive relics. I'm the bad guy. I'm not even supposed to do this. I'm a technician, not a hunter. Don't even have backup. As I hopped over the remains of the bar, I reached for my prize on the shelf labeled Belt of Beatdown. Classy. In reality, it was a relic from a time gone by that could rend space itself. Time to take you to the reliquary, I said, relieved that everything had gone according to plan. But my hand phased right through it. A hologram? Leaving the bar and a trail of smoke from my pipe behind me, I headed west, lost in thought. Hologram, Seraphina, relic, aria. Rudica! And so it ends.
I do want to point out that Level 99 Games in no way endorses smoking or underage drinking.
Absolutely, absolutely not.
You should definitely not do that stuff.
It's bad.
Please do.
It's the worst thing ever.
It's not the worst thing ever. I mean, you know, it could be worse. but wow. Okay, but that one wasn't a crossover. Somebody broke the rules.
No, that was a crossover. The person who was doing all of that was Deadpool.
Was it? Was it? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it was submitted as a Deadpool crossover. The issue is just that in the way Deadpool comics work, he refers. It's all his own internal.
Okay.
I think. So in order for
Monologue.
it to work, he couldn't say Deadpool.
Is it? I'm pretty sure that's Amon from the votable character list, but
I don't know. I was here. Let me check.
Maybe Amon is also Deadpool. That's a.
That could be real.
Who's the black guy? The black guy list was Berman from the vote. They're all these characters that appeared were the votable character list, plus Amon, who everyone thinks is my personal character.
All right, so this one was okay. So the email sent was Ninja Info Podcast. Thanks for hosting the fanfiction contest. I hope it gets you more publicity and helps out Brad's projects as well. I hope you find my story enjoyable. I certainly had fun writing it. I was trying to channel Deadpool doing noir, which is in
Okay.
itself a nod towards one of the stretch goals for Brad's project. It is written from the first-person perspective, anticipating Brad's reading, since the character telling the story is supposedly Brad if he were a character in his own fictional universe.
So it's a crossover
Okay.
between Brad and.
Yeah. Okay.
So okay.
It's a crossover in between Brad and Level 99 Game, or Level 99 Games and BattleCon. Also,
Well, I enjoyed that one quite a bit. So
Yes.
Oh, so someone says I'm a musicology graduate student, and I think the Bard might be one of the undergrads here.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we've got 2 left, I think. That's right? 2 left.
That is right. 2 left.
Why can't I see the other 2? I can only see the 2 that you just read.
All right. If you're looking in the Hangout window, you cannot see the other 2.
I'm gonna grab a drink of water before we continue, because this is taking out my voice.
Yes, it does.
Give me about 2 minutes, and I'll be right back.
Okay. In fact, why don't we just say we take a 2-minute break? Because I also have to take care of the thing. So, gentlemen, we will be right back. Please enjoy our empty chairs while Kendall sings "The Beat Goes On."
I don't know how. What? I don't know how to sing that song.
Well, Kendall, tell a story for a moment. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Okay. So once upon a time, there were 2 bunnies named Flippity Flop and Jumpkins. Then they died.
No,
The end.
not that story. The other story.
Oh. Which other? What? Empty chairs. They're so empty and chair-like. Empty chairs. I can't see CW's chair. I guess that's not too bad, I guess. Yeah. Empty dead air. Liking it. It's awesome. It's happening right now. Some dead space on the internet. It's totally happening. Yeah. Opening the YouTube app. Oh, I can't. That stinks. Let me play the video I have. I'll post it up there for everyone.
I heard you did a horrible job. How dare you?
I did it bad. It was terrible, and life is bad.
No way.
No
way.
Ouch, ouch. I hit the
Exact same time. Only.
floor. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Here.
I'm back. Everything's okay now. What's up?
We literally both just got back at the same time, and
Yeah.
apparently I hung Kindle out to dry. So
Yeah, I sang a song about being on dead air. And it was
I'll have to
I
go
was
back
like,
and watch the
I'm on-
replay.
it's,
to-
Yeah,
it's on
me
some
too.
it's on some dead air, yeah. Like
all right, so
2 minutes of silence on the internet. Like it's General reprieve from the insanity of online culture. Like it's.
Yeah. So we have
Indeed.
two more. Untitled document in that folder is technically one that's
Okay. Oh well,
so
the two untitled ones are the same, right?
so we had Untitled. That Untitled one was me copying over blatantly stupid nonsense by William Lee.
Okay. Well, I
Into
don't know if we should read off the authors' names without them wanting to. I mean the submissions should
oh,
were kind of to
well,
be anonymous, I think. So.
I'm
So
sorry. I am sorry, William Lee. I guess William Lee, you are now permanently associated with this.
If you leave a comment real quick and tell me not to read this, then I'll respect that. Now that a name's been spoiled. Otherwise,
I
I'll get started.
apologize. All right. Which one shall it be? Which?
They're both
go
the
with,
same,
go,
right?
I want to see
No.
blatantly stupid
No, there are-
nonsense. I want
Okay,
to read that
alright.
one.
If you
Alright,
I do
refresh,
actually.
you'll see that there's only 4 documents there. I went ahead and moved the duplicates
Okay.
to trash.
All right. All right.
To explain, the reason I also mentioned the name is because he was the one who asked in the comments about his fanfic being over the limit. He agreed to section his off.
Okay. So should I just read the second section?
Yeah,
Or,
you can see each section.
I could probably read. I mean, we're not on a time schedule here, right? We could stay
No.
we can stay for another hour if we want,
Yeah.
right?
I will let
I'll
you
just read the whole
choose each section to read if you like, but
Okay.
he said if you wanted section 1 is only 400 words tops, establishes setting. Doesn't have any BattleCon content though, so you don't have to select.
That's fine. All right, let's see how this goes. I gotta work on my dramatic reading. Fontes is much better than me. He reads all my dramatic voice. Let's see if I can do a dramatic Portuguese accent.
Fabio just said, "Listen,
Only like
crickets,
400
everybody."
words. No, I can't even attempt to do Fabio's voice. He's so much better than me. All right, I'll just concede defeat and move on. Section 1. Only like 400 words tops. Establish a setting. 0 BattleCon content. Probably don't select this. The time was midnight. The bridge between the two buildings was, in a rare change of pace, not littered with bodies or bullet casings. Nothing was even on fire, even with the time as late as it was. Such a moment of peace was rare. The interior of the building owned by Red, R-E-D capitalized, was just as lax. 3 people sat around a table holding playing cards, while a fourth is calling me on the phone right now. I don't know who this is, but I'll silence it for now, and I'll say, I'll call you later. Sorry. I should probably, there we go. Actually, who was that from? That might be my printer in Florida. I may need to. No, it's from Maryland, so it's somebody totally different. Okay. If you just called me right now, I'll call you back in like an hour. Okay, where were we? Right, 3 people sat around a table holding playing cards, while a fourth was content to roast hot dogs on a campfire. Nobody bothered to tell them off for starting a campfire indoors. I raise, declared the one in a white doctor's outfit. Ah, heck, I fooled, I guess. The one in overalls and a yellow helmet put his cards on the table. Why not? I call, said the one-eyed one with a vest pointing a challenging finger at the doctor. The doctor smiled confidently and turned his cards to face the table. He had a full house, 2 5s and 3 8s. The one-eyed one barked a laugh in return, revealing his hand of 4 6s and a jack, and eliciting a groan of frustration and the bet from the doctor. This is why I don't normally play. You're too cautious until you suddenly aren't. That's what it takes in my line of work, boyo. That's what it takes in my line of work, boyo. The one in overalls chuckled softly. Chuckled softly. Demo Man's at least fun to play against, even if you lose. You want to deal us in, Pyro? He offered, turning to one at the campfire dogs in a gas mask and a fireproof suit. The voiced reply was as indiscernible as ever, but the dismissive hand wave said enough. Demo Man, the one-eyed one, scoffed. I'm not even sure the poor lad can read the cards, Engineer. Engineer shrugged and reached to gather all the cards, but the next match was interrupted by a deafening explosion from a couple of rooms off. All 4 immediately reached under the table, grabbed their weapons of choice. Demo Man barked out an order. Medic, on me! Engineer, Pyro, take the side paths. Don't let the bastards out. So this is clearly Team Fortress 2. crossover.
Yeah.
I feel for those of our fans who are Team Fortress 2 players, which I'm also not, but I got it by the end. So this is way cool. But I got the yeah. Anyway, all right. Section 2, 1,480 words. BattleCON character meets TF2 mercs. It's all right, I guess. The internal room was a mess. Overturned chairs and bits of machinery, which Engineer quickly deduced as the remains of his teleporter, littered the area, and black scorch marks adorned the area where it once was. However, the sentry gun was still completely active and had registered no targets, a fact that was doubly surprising considering the fact that there was a woman coughing up a storm in the middle of the mess. All 4 mercenaries just stood and stared, unsure of exactly how this occurred. Okay, that was probably not supposed to happen, she muttered to herself once the coughing fit ended. She stood up and brushed herself off, and the mercenaries immediately took note of her strange two-tone tunic and wild pink hair. Oi, does this look like a disco to you? Get out of here, Demo Man shouted, gesturing with his grenade launcher to reinforce the command. It was only at this point the one took note of where she was. Wait, oh no, this isn't Argent at all. I screwed up the teleport spell, didn't I? Professor Crane is going to tank my score. The fact that 4 men with strange weapons were yelling at her to do things appeared not to bother her so much as her grade. Hold on, Medic advanced, turning off his shot medigun for a second. Excuse me, Fraulein. The woman stopped wringing her hands in distress and turned to Medic. His accent was strange, almost straight out of a documentary on Geoffrian history. Who? Me? That's not my name. The Medic ignored the comment. You shouldn't be here. This is a war zone. How did you get here? Probably took the teleporter, Doc. Though not intentionally from the looks of it, Engineer surveyed the wreckage around the woman in disappointment. That had taken him the better part of the afternoon to get working. Yes, that sounds right. I was casting a teleportation spell for a class at Argent University, and I must have gotten the incantation a bit off, and the woman stopped and corrected herself. What I mean is, I was banished here by an evil warlock who was jealous of the dark eldritch knowledge of Lysandra. Whoa! Hold on there, little lady, Engineer interrupted. No names, company policy, even for civilians, especially for civilians. Just your professional due. For example, you can call me Engineer. He tipped his helmet in greeting. I am the medic here, stated the medic, standing stiffly at attention as he did so. The demo man didn't introduce himself, just stared at his teammates incredulously. Are you all daft? Why are you introducing yourselves to a witch? Hey, I'm a summoner, thank you very much, Lysandra shot back indignantly. She is clearly not hostile, Demo Man, and even if she turns out to be a spy, there is only one of her and 4 of us. Manners, please, chided the medic. Well, now she already knows that what you call me. So what's the bloody point? Demo Man took out his favorite bottle and started pulling from it heavily, clearly done with the conversation. My Irish-English accents are... Unless somebody says boyo, I can't. Unless they say boyo in a sentence, I can't hold it. Well, now she already knows what to call me, so what's the bloody point, boyo? Demo Man took out his favorite bottle and started pulling from it heavily, clearly done with the conversation. Nice to meet you, too, and Lysandra gestured at Pyro, hiding in the doorway with both gloved hands on the frame. Engineer shrugged. Everybody just calls him Pyro. Nice to meet you, Summoner. He extended his own hand, and Lysandra took it and shook it awkwardly. So, I'd like to get back to Argent soon. Finals are coming up. You, Engineer, you said you had a teleporter? Engineer shook his head. Had being the operative word. Afraid your mistake totaled this one. I can get it up and running, get you back home, no problem, but it'll just take some time. Probably be done by sunup. In the meantime, Fraulein Summoner, advised Medic, gesturing for her to follow, this is still a war zone. I strongly recommend you find a place to hide in the event that the blue mercenaries choose to attack. We will do our best to defend you. Speak for yourself, muttered Demo Man. But we cannot guarantee your safety, and the longer you stay here, the less time we can devote to infiltrating their own base and seizing their intelligence. Not that this is on the table anymore. Not that this is on the table anymore, declared a throaty Gesselhemian voice from nowhere in particular. Who's there? Lysandra shouted, starting to summon her familiar in reflex. Not an enemy, which is good for you, Summoner. The voice's owner, a thin man in a suit and mask, appeared out of the air just behind Pyro, who waved happily in greeting. I heard the introductions already. You may call me Spy. Enchanté. He finished with his natural disdain, painting his every word. No, back up a second, mate. What do you mean it's not on the table? Now he's Australian, inquired Demo Man from the floor. The Spy lit a cigarette before responding. I mean precisely that. We outnumber them, but their briefcase is under constant watch by absolute brutes of mercenaries. Even with the help of the doctor here, you and Pyro would be dead in seconds. Question, chirped Lysandra, her hand shooting into the air as if in class. What is it? Responded the Spy. What's a briefcase? The 5 mercenaries in the room stared at her in confusion. Spy was the first to respond. That is information we can't give you, Summoner, assuming you wish to remain, Engineer interrupted the Spy. Like that little red number on the desk there, except blue. Okay, cool. 2 seconds. Lysandra turned to check out the red briefcase sitting on the desk. Laborer, your cheerful helpfulness is about to get our lovely little guest killed. The Spy drew his favorite butterfly knife with an elaborate flourish. You are a terrible host. Spy, you're being a damn lunatic. Cut that out. Engineer moved between Lysandra, still turned away, and the advancing Spy. Hey, he's the only one talking sense here, returned Demo Man, though he wasn't getting up. The engineer refused to budge. Everyone just calm down and let's talk this over, like, got it. All 5 mercenaries turned to look at Lysandra, whose hands, still emitting tiny red sparks, were holding a blue briefcase, identical in size and shape to the one behind her. How? Middick startled to say, but any further words were lost in bewilderment. That was easy, like really easy. You'd think they hadn't warded it or anything. Lysandra casually threw the intel over her shoulder, landing it on the desk next to the red counterpart. Spy cocked his head in disbelief, then after a long moment put his knife away as elegantly as he had drawn it. You have done well. As long as you don't open up either briefcase, I think we can let you live. Engineer shook his head, although he also relaxed his stance. That's no way to say thank you. Speaking of, thank you kindly, Summoner. Demo Man stood up. Don't get too cozy just... No. Boyo, don't get too cozy just yet, ladies. That bit of black magic's going to have the blues madder than a bipolar badger. We'll need to shore up our defenses before they know what's happened. Medic, on me! I've got some demolitions to do. Ha ha ha! His hostility, while it didn't vanish, quickly gave way to a disconcertingly cheery bloodlust, and he took off. Medic looked at the others. Engineer, you work on building your teleporter so Fraulein Summoner can leave. Spy, Pyro, keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary. Doctor's orders, he concluded, chuckling a tiny bit at his joke, which nobody else dared to echo. He then hurried after Demo Man. Spy and Pyro looked at Lysandra for a moment, then at each other, then took off, each silent as they did so. Engineer was already getting to work, using the scrap from the accident as a starting point. Get along, Summoner. Find yourself somewhere to hide. Lysandra folded her arms. You sure about that? I could fight too, and it sounds like you guys would need a lot of help. Engineer turned away from his work and fixed her with what she assumed must be a very serious stare. Kind of hard to tell with his goggles. Have you ever faced down a pack of ornery mercenaries that don't know fear or mercy? Yeah, that was one of Professor Berman's extracurricular activities. Pretty fun, too. The response wasn't the one the engineer had expected. Oh, then go hog wild, I guess. Just don't get yourself killed. I'm thoroughly enjoying this one as well. So I have to say these have been quite a hit so far. Or all of these have been quite fun. Well, we got section 3. So
I do want to go ahead and mention before you get on to section 3. There was a question as to what the prize was. This was the intended prize, was to watch the creator of the game have to read the crossover fan fiction.
A fan fiction which will be canonized by Brad Talton when he reads it live on Google Hangouts. That kind of thing.
That sort of thing.
You've just made a bunch of fanboys like life. You have just done the thing.
I don't think we're that. I don't think we're that cool. You know, like if
no, I just mean in the
if no one reads your Star Trek fic on live Google Hangouts, then you can just like you can call it in one life. But I don't think I'm that spacious.
So
I think there's going to be that future moment though where some fanboy's like, I wonder if there's any cross fan fiction of this and this, and then they're gonna listen to this video and just be like, oh my gosh, My life is
Yeah.
empty and pointless because I didn't write this and didn't have him read it.
I also want to go ahead and mention that due to a weird mix-up with how Google Plus works, it separated my YouTube account from my Google Plus account. So if you do want to subscribe and see more videos, you have to actually go to a different channel.
Huh, that's weird. But so the
Yeah.
YouTube again. Why don't you just update
Yeah.
the comments for the video in the aftermath, and you could put on the link to the
I can go ahead
correct
and post
subscription.
that. So just beware. If you never see any more updates from this channel, it's not that I hate you. It's that's what happened. Because I just got something saying that somebody subscribed.
Okay.
It's gonna be awkward for them.
Well, you can always call. You can always get YouTube customer service to merge it over, I guess.
I can try.
All right.
They've done weird stuff with our AdSense too. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, so we got about. I think we have about 4 or about. Yeah, let's
I
see.
think you have 2
1,
sections
2,
left.
3, 4. We have 5 pages left of this, and we've gone through about 4 so far. I'll see you guys tomorrow. People heading out of the office. It's 5 o'clock over here. So, all right. So here goes. Section 3.1, 881 or so words. Sorta actiony, I guess. Also, Borneo continues to be a mocking bag. The red face wasn't exceptionally hard to navigate, and Lysandra quickly found herself at the entrance outside. Just ahead was a massive bridge extending far to her right. She knelt down and muttered the incantation that calls the summoners familiar, now second nature to her. Brah! Within seconds, her devoted familiar Borneo had appeared. The pink penguin was small, unassuming, and quick to complain, but nonetheless, Lysandra appreciated his presence, though she'd never openly admit it. Keep an eye out for anyone trying to attack me. Borneo immediately peeked out from behind the crate blocking her view of the bridge, then turned and saluted, presumably indicating its safety. Satisfied, Lysandra took a step out and, whoa, out of the way! 1.5 seconds later, Lysandra and the stranger were in a tangled heap on the ground, with Borneo hurrying over to pull her loose. You had one job, she scolded him, while the stranger, a lean young man in a blue-shirted baseball cap, was swearing and trying to leap to his feet. Ain't you ever listened when people tell you to, The stranger's reprimands were cut short as he noticed who he had run into. Lysandra got to his feet and looked him over. He reminded her of a certain illusionist he saw back at Argent. Or she knew back at Argent. Hey, gorgeous, already head over heels for me? It happens to lots of girls. I'm the scout. He immediately went into a kind of awkward flexing stance, which Lysandra did her best not to laugh at. Borneo didn't bother with the self-restraint and started rolling on the floor, laughing madly. In penguin laughs, I guess, which I'm not going to read or attempt to imitate.
Yeah, more or less like Penguin from the Batman laughing.
Okay. That's great. Go away. I'm supposed to be watching out for mercenaries, and you're disturbing my concentration. She tried to shoo him off with a dismissive hand wave, but Scout had none of it. Watching for mercenaries? That's cute. You're a real cutie. Don't worry, because you found one right here, baby. Scout continued with his flexing. But what he had said caught Lysandra by surprise. This was one of the big bad mercenaries everyone was so afraid of. Borneo, please handle our guest, she intoned, only half expecting him to be effective. Borneo took the command with some incredulity, but no more than he did any time Lysandra asked him to fight on her behalf. He leapt right for Scout's face, squawking and clawing at the eyes. Ah, friggin' get off of me! Scout leapt back, trying to push Borneo off of his face, but having little success. Lysandra took the time to begin another summoning, this time something more serious. While she did that, Scout withdrew a baseball bat from a pouch on his back and finally succeeded in pushing Borneo off of his face. Borneo fluttered in the air, but his wings weren't much good for doing anything other than hovering in place. Stupid chicken, I'm gonna mess you up. Batter! He leaned back, confident that Borneo wouldn't be able to move anywhere, quickly enough to dodge, and put his entire body into one mighty swing. With a loud bink noise, the bat connected, and Borneo screeched in pain as he was sent flying over the fence behind Lysandra. She didn't hear him land, but knew the damage wouldn't be fatal, as summoned creatures are notoriously hard to kill. She felt a bit guilty about him taking the hit, though. Scout relaxed for a second, not remotely used to this kind of warfare. Alright, I don't usually hit girls, but that really pissed me off. So just for you, I'm going to make an exception. What the hell is that? Lysandra's new summon had finished, and a salamander the size of a crocodile now stood between her and the Scout, flicking its forked tongue in and out slowly. Congratulations on defeating my weakest minion, she mocked. Not wanting to take any chances with whatever else Lysandra could summon, Scout opted to take the easy way out, sprinting to the edge of the bridge and grabbing it as he vaulted below. Lysandra could hear his footsteps as he retreated back into the blue base and smiled, happy with her easy win. "Congratulations on defeating their weakest minion," she heard Spy remark from below her. She turned to see him leaning against the wall, presumably having been hidden through their fight. "Are you sure that wasn't one of their absolute brutes?" she retorted. "And do you always show up late to everything you do?" Someday, mon cher, you'll learn the meaning of dramatic timing." He flicked his finished cigarette to the ground, not bothering to stamp it out. "In any event, that little boy is only one of their number, and unquestionably the weakest. He's also unquestionably their most annoying." Lysandra did her best to fix him with an icy, emotionless stare, the sort of menacing sorceress queen would do, but Spy seemed unimpressed. "I'm not worried. Like I told your engineer, I've done this before, and I don't care one whit about dramatic cut. Section 3.2, 1,215 words. Actual action. Also, intrigue, lucha libre, and awkwardly abrupt endings because of time limits." "Hoo-wah!" The battle cry from above them was quickly punctuated by a resounding explosion, sending Lysandra, the Spy, and the Salamander flying in 3 different directions. The Spy cartwheeled back into the building and connected with a wall with a thud, slumping to the floor and staying there. The Salamander face-planted onto the open space of the bridge just past them, while Lysandra found herself hanging onto the ledge, having just reacted quick enough to avoid careening into the pit below. "You sorry red maggots! Everyone knows not to send women, Frenchmen, or lizardmen into the front lines. Andrew Jackson would be ashamed to have each of you shot for insubordination." Lysandra couldn't see who was shouting, but she had other concerns. She was having some trouble pulling herself up, not being quite as physically adept as some of her other classmates. And the impact from whatever had hit her wasn't doing her stamina any favors. She was doing her best to will the Salamander to hurry over and hoist her up, but it wasn't turning up. "Do you think I've forgotten about your treacherous schemes, scum of Atlantis? Go back to your octopus king and tell him you have failed!" Another explosion, and Lysandra felt her Salamander waver. She desperately wanted to pull herself up, but at the same time, she figured the ledge provided an exceptional hiding place, provided her arms wouldn't give out. Unfortunately, she had figured wrong. Marching footsteps overhead signaled the approach of the soldier, and before long she could see his army boots, still smoking and showing the same signs of damage her own outfit did. Did he seriously use his weapon to launch himself forward? Not wanting to think about it, she looked up at the rest of him, mind racing. He was a physically fit fellow who wore a blue military uniform and sported a large weapon of some kind, probably what caused the explosions earlier. He seemed just as surprised by her as she did by him. "What are they teaching these spineless red mercs these days? You are out of uniform. You are completely unarmed. You are failing to perform a single pull-up, even with both of your arms intact. If I was running your squad, you wouldn't be able to pull yourself up this ledge with nothing but your outlandish haircut, which I would personally shave bald. I don't have half the time to leave you here and let your own weakness finish you off. Did you know," Lysandra shouted back up, and just enough volume to interrupt his tirade, "that lobsters don't actually die of old age?" She didn't know why she remembered this bit of trivia right now, or what good shouting would do, but it was all she could think of at the time. She continued, not wanting to give him more opportunity to yell, reciting whatever she remembered from her textbooks, while the other half of her mind desperately attempted to summon. "It's true. Lobsters are often killed by predators or harvested by humans to eat, but they don't ever die of old age. They just get bigger each time they molt." Surprisingly, this information seemed to get Soldier to back off. He started pacing away, trying to take this information in. "Dear God, if it's true, then Atlantis' generals know far too much. They've been around since George Washington personally suplexed their leader into the first Thanksgiving dinner table." He turned back to the ledge and shouted down, "Private, you are now prisoner of war and will tell us everything you know about the Atlantean battle plans. Pull yourself up from this ledge this instant, maggot!" He glared down at the ledge where Lysandra was mere moments ago. However, there was no sign of her. The chasm below stretched too far into the bottom, even in the best conditions. Finding her at night would be impossible. "Damn it, I did not give you permission to fall to your death. Get back up here and fight like a man! Or woman, fight like whichever of the two is more suited to your tactics, because I will not lose another war to gravity itself!" Way ahead of you, Lysandra's voice echoed from far above the soldier. He turned to look upward, pushing his helmet only just out of the way, and saw her hovering above him, being carried by some sort of miniature wyvern. Lysandra returned the look with as much disdain as she could muster. That summoning attempt had been nearly as tiring as hanging on to begin with. That said, she wasn't going to give him any time to react. She began to suddenly reverse the energy of the summoning spell. The wyvern wasn't going to last much longer anyway, as carrying her for even a short distance expended most of its energy, but there would be enough for this handy trick Professor Crane had taught her. Pact Breaker! The soldier might not have had any idea of how she had called a wyvern to aid her, but he knew an attack coming when he saw one. He pulled up his rocket launcher as fast as he could and took aim, but a brilliant shower of red sparks from above told him he wouldn't be able to make it in time. Strike! Lysandra shouted, rocketing down at him in a fast-flying elbow drop. With a tremendous cracking sound, she collided with him, the energy of the attack at the same time shielding her from the harm and amplifying the force of the impact towards the soldier, driving him into the ground hard. She quickly got up and began summoning again, this time something that could protect her from whatever he could summon, while he got up and took aim once again, stepping back as he did to give him more room for error. He was foregoing more battle taunts in favor of just screaming wordlessly at her during the concentration, doing her concentration no favors. She didn't think she'd have time to get out of the way, but she wouldn't be able to finish summoning before he fired. With a whoosh, a lick of flame erupted from the front, heralding the rocket now flying right at her. Lysandra couldn't do more than throw her hands in front of her face ineffectually, but out of nowhere, a sudden blast of air roared from behind her, sending the rocket careening back at the soldier, who wasn't expecting the Deus Ex Machina any more than Lysandra was. The rocket exploded at his feet, sending him sailing across the bridge and well out of sight. The threat was gone for a moment. Lysandra concluded her summon, and a towering suit of armor now stood before her, ready to intercept any further rockets. She turned to look behind her and saw the pyro standing behind her. He, or she, hard to tell, shouted, holding up one hand. Grateful for the last-minute save, Lysandra returned the high five the pyro presumably wanted. Thanks, I owe you, I guess. And the story ends there, but I think there will be more on fanfiction.net. I think
I hope there is.
That's the to be continued on fanfiction.net, I think is the final line of this.
That was really good. I liked it.
That was fun. That was pretty
cute.
fun. That was cool. Nice work.
That had like legitimately developed like the other two were good too, but this one had like arcing. It had like a story arc that
it was like
kind of like taking this.
The others too.
Yeah.
but I did like the voices, doing the voices. I kind of got into it at the end.
I think if you ever want to do like Scottish again, you just need to like start every sentence with boyo, even if the sentence doesn't actually have it in there.
Yeah, that's a good tactic. I can see why Eric Summer enjoys this. I had dinner with him at the Dice Tower dinner at Origins, and he was telling me about all the different books he had to read. And anyway, pretty fun stuff. But he said it's neat to read all these different things, and I can see the enjoyment factor there. But shall we get on to the fourth one, BattleCon X Batman?
Yes. So
I feel scared about this one.
Special, actually.
Yeah.
I feel a little scared because the last time we read anything that was cross Batman, it ended up being Edward from Twilight cross Batman, and it was their intense love story.
Oh dear.
Actually, the last one that was read was a Bane/Killer Croc.
Oh yeah, and that was worse. That was bad.
Yeah, I don't think this one's gonna be.
No, this one will be better.
Okay, but let's do this then. All right. Whew, man.
You should probably mention who wrote this one, by the way.
I'll see. I mean, I might have to like call him in here to answer for himself.
Yeah, true.
This one's only 2 pages, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Like when you're done, you just call him in when you're done and be like, okay, what is this?
Yeah. All right.
Explain yourself. Your name's on the line.
The city of Gotham was sick, dying. In the span of one night, one man had crept into the underbelly of the city and infected it. People were disappearing. Cops on patrol never reported in. Children mysteriously vanished from school. And Alfred. Only one man could purge this evil from where it was hiding. Batman stalked the rooftops of Gotham looking for the source of all this. A man named Kadath. His patrol lead him to a conspicuous-looking warehouse where a blonde-haired man in a bright red jacket stood at the main entrance. His sources told him that he was named Hikaru and was Kadath's right-hand man. Figuring the direct approach was best with these seemingly thick-headed types, he landed quietly and strode up to the strange man. I'm looking for Kadath. I heard you might know him. You must be Batman. Kadath told me to give you a warm welcome. Hikari's fist became enveloped with flames. He advanced on Batman in a fury of fiery blows. While powerful, his attacks were wild and easily dodged. Didn't your mother tell you not to play with fire? The retort just seemed to make Hikaru angry, and he launched another brutal assault. Fist flew left, right, left, but all of them missed their mark. Batman's didn't. With one swift blow, he sent Hikari staggering backwards. With the next, he pinned him against the warehouse wall. Bringing Hikaru to eye level, he barked out his next question in a deep, deadly voice. Where's Kadath? The spit on his face was the only reply the blonde brawler gave him. Wrong answer. Batman punched the statement with a knee to Hikaru's gut. Leaving the downed punk to his vomiting, Batman noticed a glint near the dumpster. It was the keys to the warehouse. They must have fallen out of Hikaru's pocket during the fight. Kneeling down to pick them up, he heard a sharp laugh as the vomiting behind him stopped. Ha! You really knocked the wind out of me. I guess I should return the favor. The last thing the Cape Crusader saw was a flash of green light and a jet of wind speeding towards him. Batman awoke in a dimly lit room. He looked around. This was clearly the warehouse he was just at the entrance of. He tried moving, but his legs wouldn't budge, as if his mind was read. The answer he was looking for came from a new voice out in the darkness. Don't bother trying to escape. You're trapped in my gate trap.
Oh.
Kadath! Oh, aren't we smart? The smartest in this world, I hear. Kadath came into the dim light and stopped a distance away, looking down on his victim through his monocled eye. Batman glared back. There's a place for crazy kidnappers like you, Kadath. It's called Arkham, and you just earned a free lifetime ticket. Kadath smiled, unfazed by the helpless crime fighter. A joker, too, I see. Well, you won't be having the last laugh tonight, Batman. Why'd you do it, Kadath? Kidnapping all those innocent people. He needed to buy time. Kadath may have trapped his legs, but he only tied his arms. He may have had a strong mind, but Kadath's knots were weak. Simple, Batman. I kidnapped your people to save mine. My people have suffered from a terrible plague, and I've been searching the plains for an answer to their plight. That's when I found this little plane called Earth and heard about the world's greatest detective, quotes. I figured capturing a few thousand people with my gate traps would be enough to get your attention. Secretly loosening the ties around his arm, Batman reached for a batarang. Well, you've got it right here. The batarang sliced through the air, but upon hitting its target, it bounced right off with a loud clang. Kadath, always ready with an answer, explained, Your batarangs will never get through my power armor, and you're still trapped, you know. Kadath moved closer, the trap sucking Batman further into its confines with every step. Why don't you help me find a cure for my people, and I'll let you and all the people go. If your people are as sick as you, I'd rather not. I've heard madness is contagious. How dare you insult my people? Kadath's temper flared, but he quickly got it under control. You know, I've heard you've done so much for Gotham for so long. I think what you need is an extended vacation. The trap was quickly pulling Batman in. What's a vacation without a tour guide, Kadath? Pulling at the wire attached to the batarang, he snared Kadath's leg, pulling him towards the deadly vortex. Kadath reached for his ancestral sword, only to have it knocked away by one last batarang before Batman lost the use of his arms to the other dimension. He had no choice. Like it or not, he had to stop the trap before he was sucked in. Batman, now free of his captor, wasted no time turning on the electricity in the wire around Kadath's leg. Right before he was able to loosen it and go for his sword, the wire filled Kadath with 10,000 volts of electricity. Looks like I didn't have to get through your power armor at all, Batman remarked as he got to his feet. Kadath crumpled to the ground, almost passing out, but not before having one final word. Curse you, Batman, but you'll never get away from me. Glenhide 8, Octavia 6, Burgundy 12. Kadath used the last of his energy to summon these strange beings. The one called Glenhide wore a strange suit that appeared to pump some fluid through his body. Octavia looked half human or half cyborg and carried a large rifle. The one called Burgundy was the most bizarre. It appeared to be a living stick figure. Whoever or whatever these things were, they only meant one thing to Batman. Goons. It's always goons. Quickly dispatching of the three strange figures, Batman stopped to catch his breath and assess the situation. He was met with a soft clapping that was getting louder by the second, coming from the second floor walkway. He looked up at the strange figure coming into view. It seems you've beaten my best bid. Congratulations, Batman. Or should I say, Bruce? This perfect body, it couldn't be. Bruce, I should have known you were behind all this. A battle of gruesome proportions. Who will win? Find out next issue. So it's a doppelganger Bruce?
I guess?
Yes, it must be minus world Batman. That can be the only explanation.
So instead of his real name in that world is Batman, and his alter ego is Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
No,
He's like
Lego. It's the Lego movie Batman.
Oh no.
It's his new opponent, whose alternate form is Bruce Wayne.
a battle of gruesome proportions. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
So should he answer for his crimes?
I think that surprisingly this wasn't the most ridiculous one that I read.
I know.
Yeah.
I think but it was quite good. It was quite good, and I'd love to read issue 2 on Fanfiction, not that. So, but man, wow, this was fun. This was fun.
Yeah.
Whew, do we have any more comments are people still watching, or did people get?
We still have 17 viewers.
Okay.
During the last one, we actually went up to 21 again.
Okay.
We were at 19 for a while.
Well,
I have to ask a quick question because I don't know the characters too well in BattleCon. I'm only recently beginning into it. Was there any specific inspiration for the character Kadath or his name? Because
Kadath was created by a friend of mine actually. So before we had BattleCon, we had an RPG for Argent. And the player characters in that RPG were Kadath and Hikaru and Voko.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason I asked is because there's a location in one of H.P. Lovecraft's stories called the City of Kadath, and I was like, I've never heard that outside of that HPL story, so it was just kind of like weird to hear it.
I think it's also Elven for justice.
That's even cooler.
In D&D or some other language, but yeah.
Some other Tolkien's backyard language.
Yeah, one of those. So the character was named by him, and it was.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we kind of, when the RPG died down, we used the same world for War of Indians. So I decided that character would be, it was obviously Bruce Lee, said Sasha in the comments.
Oh.
Now I get it. Okay, yes.
Oh, because Bruce Lee's now a character, right?
Okay. Now it all makes sense. That's like way better now.
That ended much better, yeah.
Yeah.
That might actually be a total win on his part if that's the case.
Yes, that was good. That was pretty good.
Like when it was alternate Batman, it was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Now it's like, oh, Bruce Lee, oh hell yeah, that's.
Yeah.
So I hate to interrupt. We do have apparently a way past the deadline fanfic that just got written.
Oh, like what? Like while we were reading, somebody wrote one.
Yes. Guess who? It was Ryan Chilton.
Oh yeah. Well, he said if I were to send it before it's over, can it be read?
Yeah. So to send it, you have to send it to ninjahellinyourpants@gmail.com. It'll go straight to my inbox, and I'll add it straight to Google Drive.
Okay.
So,
well,
I might have to go before that because
for
I do need to be somewhere at 7:15. So.
Yeah, I think I'm reaching my limit to live readings.
All right.
I can do like one more 1,500 words.
How about this? Instead, for the finale, I'll send it to you then, and you can read it there.
Okay, yeah, I'll read this one on the final hangout that we do with J.R. Honeycutt at the end of the project, and you guys are welcome to join us for that as well.
2 hours.
If you want. Yeah, it's great. This has been fun though. This has been a lot.
Well, you're welcome on. You're welcome on anytime.
Well, just call me up anytime. And
a fair warning on most of our episodes, it is not family friendly. I will not even pretend.
Clean,
I do not endorse Ninja Infocast in any way.
Yeah.
So,
we
absolutely
totally
don't
just block us
listen
from
to this
all of
show. Don't listen to these shows. Don't listen to these guys. I'm just using them to my ends currently, but they'll very quickly outlive their usefulness once the show ends. So, you know.
I knew it.
Yes, of course. All right. So I guess that ends this episode. Thank you very much for being on again. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to have you on for a different project or something.
Yeah, you know, next time, give me a call. I think Millennium Blades will be right up your guys' alley because there's so much parody in that game. Like, there's a set that's a Netrunner parody. There's a set that's like a Power Rangers parody. There's a Sailor Moon parody. You know, we've got like a Fist of the North Star set. You know, all this ridiculous stuff that are like the different booster packs that you can buy, and in that game. And man, Millennium Blades, it's gonna be
some fan fiction ideas for those who might want to start writing more. Pick up those booster packs with those expansions and just start writing.
Yeah. Well,
what date and what time were you gonna do that hangout?
So the project ends this Saturday at midnight. So we are about, I'd say we're about 7 hours away from the 48-hour mark, which will be tonight at midnight.
So for us here in Texas, who live in Central Standard Time, that would be 1 a.m.
That'd be it ends at 1 a.m. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll be there. We'll be doing another live hangout. Everyone's welcome to comment in. This one will probably be more comment oriented. And also we'll have like a party going on here at the warehouse. So we'll have some of our friends and playtesters around to help us do the big countdown at the end. So it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and
so we'll have to bring some drinks and make it a big thing on Saturday, and then just get plastered on the internet with you. So
yeah, don't. I don't know if you know. Are you allowed to drink on public television? I guess you're allowed to drink on YouTube television. Right?
Technically, this here does not qualify to FCC rules.
Oh, okay.
FCC rules, however, are you saying fart? I mean, that's going to get you more of a fine than drinking, probably.
Okay. Well, let's.
They don't have to know what's in it. It'll be orange juice and
let's just have, like it's fine. Read everything and don't, no emotes, no motions, no indication that we're anything that means.
Brad,
put up little tags that say "sound only" on our nameplates.
Brad, remember, no matter what happens, you're probably going to do something that makes the FCC mad. I mean, that's just the way. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I suppose. But
I mean, I said the Pledge of Allegiance once, and the FCC got mad. So
is that? I guess that's all it takes. Huh?
That, funny enough, that's actually somewhat of a true story. We're going to be putting up that documentary online, possibly. Maybe.
Who knows?
In the future.
Well, yeah. So I imagine that everybody watching us has already backed the Kickstarter. So I don't think there's anything left to say except thank you guys for backing and for joining us, for watching. It's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. And we'll see you in 2 days for the finale.
Definitely.
Sweet.
By the way, I will shoot you a link to the YouTube channel that you can put in like an update or something.
Okay, yeah, and I'll link this video and I'll link the channel, and yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks again for hosting this.
Yeah,
the contest was great. It's made my night.
All right. Well, have a good night, man.
All right, y'all have a good night too, and thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.